What's up, dudes and girls? In this video, I'm going to be going over the foods that I have every day, the amount of calories, and also the macronutrients that's really going to help me put on as much muscle mass as possible. Also, I do want to talk about some of the strategic things that I put into place to really help me put on mass in the past and that I'm still going to implement into this bulking phase. So, let's get this started. First meal of the day, it's gonna be breakfast, and I try to wake up pretty damn early because I have a lot of food to consume, and the earlier you wake up, the more time you have to eat. And I really try to keep the time frame between my meals at least 2 hours, if not more. Try to up to 3 hours. That way my body has time to digest, I have time to go through the various processes to use the calories before eating my next meal. If I'm eating one meal and then I'm still full, it's gonna be really hard to eat my next meal, especially because almost each meal is gonna be containing 1,000 calories. So to start the first meal early is gonna be very important to start the day off right. Now that meal number one is out of the way, I wanna talk about food, because obviously without food, you're not gonna get calories, you're not gonna get macros, and you're not gonna make gains. And thankfully, Hudson actually just recently did a video on our favorite bulking foods, which, as you can see in that video, we keep it pretty simple, and that's what I'm gonna be doing today. For my carbohydrate sources, I usually just stick with rice, with beans, with oats, with fruits. With fats, I'll usually stick with nuts of any kind, obviously a little bit of oils here and there for cooking, and also getting it from animal products like beef, steak, or salmon. Obviously with my proteins, I'm gonna get a lot of sources from animal products like milk, eggs, and meats, but I was really lacking in the quality of the meat I was having in the past. Thankfully, me and my girlfriend sat down and we did some research and really tried to find a company that provided really good quality meats at an affordable price. And thankfully, that's when we found ButcherBox. We went to their website, we checked them out, and we also kind of figured out how they worked. You know, we saw that they delivered straight to your door, which is obviously very convenient. Each box is very customizable. They have a wide range of different cuts. We have grass-fed beef, which we're really happy about. They have USDA certified organic chicken. They have wild-caught fish like salmon and cod. So a lot of variety, and it was super affordable. So we're happy that we found them, especially on a bulk when I'm consuming a lot more food. It just makes me feel so much better that I'm putting good quality foods into my body. So not only do I have the good carbohydrates, now I have the great animal products that I can eat that really provide me with kind of proteins that I need. And as you know, with summer coming, there's gonna be a lot of barbecuing, and ButcherBox has you covered because they are doing a barbecue bundle. They're celebrating barbecue season with a bundle of your grill favorites free in your first box. And that's gonna include 2 New York strip steaks, 6 burgers, and 5 pounds of chicken drumsticks in your first box. So make sure you click the link in the description below to find out more details. My post-workout protein shake is really gonna consist of proteins and carbohydrates. Now, one, as we talked about earlier, protein is really gonna be the building blocks of that lean muscle mass, but also carbohydrates to really get those glycogen stores back up, to spike the insulin a little bit more anabolic, but also really start the recovery process of those muscles to make sure I can get in the gym even quicker. So that post-protein workout shake, it feels damn good, it feels very replenishing, and I love having it after my workouts. The post-workout protein shake is in the books, and now I want to talk about calories, because the question can arise, well, how many calories do I need to put on muscle? And this can vary from person to person, and there's quite a few formulas out there to try to help you with a good starting point. One we like to use is the TDEE calculator, or Total Daily Energy Expenditure calculator, that we've talked about many times in the past, and it really gets your BMR and then adds activity level on top of that. But again, there's a lot of different formulas you can use, and they're all really gonna say pretty similar calories for each person. For me, for instance, I'm around the 3,500 to 3,800 calories to bulk, and really choosing a lot of different macronutrient splits within those 3,500 to 3,800 calories. But obviously I'm having 5,000 calories a day, and a lot of people might wonder, well, that's a lot above what would be considered your bulking calories. And that goes to show you that not everyone's the same, and it's not gonna tell you the exact calories that you should have. So what I did is I started with that range. I started with around 3,800 to 4,000, and I would weigh in every week to kind of get my average weight to see if the amount of calories I was having, it was actually working, it was putting on weight. If it was going too fast or too slow. Well, when I was having around 4,000 calories, I noticed that I wasn't really putting a lot of weight on, so I bumped it up 10% or so, and then I continued to do that until here we are. I'm eating 5,000 calories a day, and it seems like my body's reacting pretty well with the amount of calories I'm having now. Everyone's gonna be a little bit different, but the main important thing is to always track. Track your weights on the scale and make sure what you're eating is continuing to make you gain weight. My next meal is gonna be lunch, and this meal is gonna be a little bit lower in fats, higher in carbohydrates, and higher in protein. Now, the reason it's lower in fats is because I'm using some very lean turkey meat from Butcher Box. It's very delicious, and I'm gonna be barbecuing it up because, of course, in the spirit of the barbecue season, you can't forget the barbecuer, and it just tastes so damn good having those burgers and sweet potato fries. So this is a massive amount of protein and carbs, which feels really good in the middle of the day, and this is one of definitely my favorite meals. Lunch is done, and now I want to talk about macronutrients. Macronutrients, of course, being carbs, fats, and proteins. Now, what are some of the ways that you can figure out your best macronutrient percentages? Well, sometimes, much like calories, it can be a little bit of a trial and error. Everyone's gonna be a bit different. Now, for instance, for me, I'm going a higher carbohydrate diet and a higher protein diet. So as you can tell in my percentages, I'm going 45% carbohydrates, 25% fats, and 30% protein. So I'm going on the higher end of the carbs and proteins and lower end of fat. So I'm having 0.5 grams of fat per pound of body weight, and I'm having 1.5 grams per pound of body weight in protein. So at the higher end of protein, you can get away with 1 gram per pound of body weight for sure, but I'm going a little bit higher, and I'm filling the rest of my macronutrient percentages with carbohydrates. That's 2+ grams of carbohydrates per pound of body weight. So that is an easy way for me to figure it out. And obviously everyone's gonna be a little bit different. Maybe some people are a bit more carb sensitive, so instead of either carbs being extremely high, they're gonna adjust their fats a little bit high. And the good thing about fats, of course, since they're 9 calories per gram rather than 4 calories per gram like carbs and protein, you obviously can eat less food, less volume of food, and still have a high amount of calories. So that's one good thing about fats, is they provide you with a lot of calories even though the volume isn't there. But again, everyone's different. You just really gotta pay attention to how it makes you feel and how your body performs. Meal number 4, it's gonna be a snack, and it's gonna be oatmeal. It's gonna be a scoop of whey protein, but it's also gonna be a pretty high amount of fat. So a lot of almonds on that. Make sure I'm getting the proper amounts of fat, and it's really just a nice meal to have between 2 other meals. And again, you know, eating this much food, you want to make sure you're not still full from lunch, so you want to make sure you have time to digest before all of a sudden overloading your body with more carbohydrates and fats. But this meal, honestly, is pretty easy to get down for me. With meal number 4 out of the way, I want to talk about some of the tools that you can use in order to make sure you're always on track. Obviously, number 1 is going to be a food scale. This is making sure you know the amounts of foods you're having. But with a food scale, you can also use a calorie tracking app. Now, we use an app called MyFitnessPal, but that can be an easy way to log everything. And much like we were talking about tracking your calories and macros to see how you respond, well, this is gonna be some of the tools that can help you do that. Obviously, you can see the macronutrient percentages, you can see the amounts of food and calories. A weight scale for your body is gonna be a very useful tool as well to weigh in a couple times a week, to track your weight and to see your averages, to see the foods that you're having, if it's actually putting on weight or not, so you can adjust accordingly as well. The last meal, it's gonna be dinner, and it's gonna be a 10-ounce New York strip steak from Butcher Box. One of my favorite cuts of theirs. I get it all the time. It's a great way to get a lot of protein and fats in, but I'm also having more carbohydrates with the 2 cups of rice, and also the cottage cheese as well. So another big meal to end this out, but I try to have it relatively early in the evening. I don't want to have dinner too late because, of course, you're not really doing a lot in the evening, nighttime. So I don't want to have a huge meal and then immediately just lay down to go to sleep, because that's really horrible for digestion. You want to make sure you're still a little bit active after dinner, so that way you can go to bed and feel good after a big meal like this. That was it, a full day of eating, all the calories, all the macros. Hopefully this helps you guys out. And one last thing I do want to talk about is making sure you have structure, making sure you bring all this together and building a food program for yourself. Because of course, much like the gym, you don't want to go to the gym and not have a plan, not have a goal, not have something written down, so that way you know exactly what you're going to be doing on that day. Eating is no different. You want to make sure you build the eating program, so that way every day. You know exactly what you're gonna eat, how much you're gonna eat. You can just look at it and say, cool, I'm eating this for that meal, I'm gonna eat that for that meal, and you don't even have to think about it. So that is gonna be a huge help and to make sure you're always progressing in the right direction. And I just wanna say a huge thank you to ButcherBox for making this video happen. I've been using them for quite a while now and I couldn't be happier. And much like me, they love the barbecue season and they are celebrating it by including all your grill favorites free in your first box. And that's including 2 New York strip steaks, 6 burgers, and 5 pounds of drumsticks free in your first box. So make sure you click the link in our description below and let them know the Buff Dude sent you. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and as always, stay buff.